What's up and welcome to Shop Talk. My name is Brian Harris. This is the weekly live show where you're going to learn one practical thing you can do to grow your business. I run a company called Growth Tools, and we help people, we make it almost impossible for people to fail at growing their business. Each week we come on, I'll take one thing from the business that we've experimented with, tried, and it's worked well, and share it with you guys so you can copy it and not have to take so long as we did to figure it out. One random fun fact about me, Brian Harris, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, is that I lived on a houseboat for 4 years. And today I have with me Mr. Ben Dahl, live from the boonies of Idaho, who next week either won't be here or will have better internet. I don't know if you'll actually be here next week or not, but Ben is moving next week to a place that actually has real internet and not dial-up DSL. Ben, thanks for being here. Have you ever lived on a houseboat? That's today's question.
You know, I lived in a trailer for 2.5 months, and I don't know how you did the houseboat for 4 years, because 2.5 months of trailer life was, maybe about as much as I wanted.
A lot of people hear houseboat, and really it's like, it's not even trailer, it's a camper. It's a floating camper is really what it is. It's like even smaller. 40 foot, but a solid 18 of those feet is outdoor porches and stuff. But it was fun. We went through Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Ivan, both hurricanes, and it was like 04, 05 or something like that. So anyway, will you be here next week, Ben, or are you going to be traveling?
I'm going to be on the road, but Patrick makes a good point. I'm calling in from 2001 with 240p. Feels right. You'd be surprised the internet can be this bad 20 minutes from Russell's headquarters with ClickFunnels. But
your 56K modem is running strong, though. Thanks for being here today, Ben. And we'll cook over to clients real quick. We have Heather manning chat today and a little sneak peek of Mr. Tim Stoddart, who we're going to talk to here in a second. But Heather, how are we doing over there with clients? What's happening in client land today?
We're doing awesome, getting our clients in from the waiting room and excited to hear Tim today.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So a lot of people, or several people in YouTube chat, we have YouTube live and we also have Zoom with clients. We're asking about replays and stuff like that. So this will go about an hour or less. I don't know. We'll see how long it goes, but we'll end roughly about 4 p.m. Central or earlier. If you're not able to stay the whole time, that's totally fine. Make sure you jump on our VIP text list. It's free. Outside of whatever you pay for text messages on your phone. If you pay for text messages on your phone, just text VIP to 615-903-8108. If you're already on it, you don't have to rejoin. That just cost us money to send you a text saying you're already on it. But if you're not on it, we'll just send you a text out tomorrow morning. Also, it's on YouTube, so just like grab the YouTube link when it's done. But we'll send you a copy of the replay or the recording here. Plus, we'll mention quite a few resources throughout the interview with Tim and stuff that I share throughout. So if you're on the VIP list, you'll just grab a copy of all that, all the recording and resources and links and examples and all that stuff. So you can just sit back, enjoy. And then tomorrow at 10 a.m., you'll get a text message with all the stuff in it. All right. So before we jump in on the workshop today, I wanted to share, how does it work? Okay. Yeah. This week we had a couple of really cool client wins. Like I said, we're a coaching company. We help people grow their businesses, make it almost impossible to fail at growing your business. We specifically make marketing plans for coaches, course creators, and consultants of all different types. And last week we had 2 clients that specifically wrote in that I thought had cool wins. One of them was Tim Woosley. Runs a site called Enjoying Playing Guitar coaching company. He said, I just recorded a podcast episode with one of my Dream 50 partners, somebody that he's been wanting to partner with for a long time. Another one, Falone Sugarman Alash, a coach. Got my first coaching sale from the program for $750 for the month. So always really cool to see people's first wins that they get. Coming up in a few minutes, the title of today or the topic of today's workshop, we're going to do a little different. Typically, I come with slides prepared. I'm going to teach you something that I've learned. But today we have a special guest on. I'll introduce him here in a minute. I'm going to show you how Tim launched a 7-figure agency in 10 months with no ads. We're going to grill Tim, give him the 10th degree to learn everything that he's done so you can apply something and learn from it. I'm taking notes as well. I got my pen and piece of paper. Hope to learn a lot from Tim today. Unfortunately, Tim reached out to me like 6 months ago wanting to do some stuff together, and I totally forgot to respond, and I ghosted him. So we got some ground to make up today for Tim. I always feel bad when that happens. I will say, though, if you're a family member, a friend, or a coworker, you've had the same thing happen. So it's not a lack of love. It's a lack of like good communication hygiene. All right, so 2 things today. First, we're going to interview Tim and learn how he grew an agency to 7 figures without ads. First thing, though, each week we always start by sharing one test that we've run in our marketing at Growth Tools in the last week. So you can just like copy it or model it in your business. So if you get nothing out of the workshop time, you can take this one specific test we've done, which is a pretty drastic one this week, pretty drastic before and after. And you can take it and model it in your business and use the copy, use the language, model the language for your particular industry so you can use it. So Ben, walk us through real quick what's going on here. We have two different, this is a Facebook ad test. Last week we did a subject line. This week we get two different Facebook ads we run. These look pretty similar to each other. So what's even different here?
They're almost identical, and the only thing that's different is the top third of the ad. If you look at that top third call-out text, we have two different pain points we're targeting. One is more jealousy, and one is more just pure frustration and overwhelm of things that aren't working.
Okay, so let's go option A. This one is feeling frustrated by online coaches who make it look easy. Is that the unique copy for it?
Yep. So this is the jealousy angle, because anyone in the online space has seen those win posts. People go in like the ClickFunnels Facebook group and say like, I finally had my breakthrough. I made $1 million after, like this hardship. And that creates a lot of envy. So that's one angle that we're going for here.
Okay. And then we got option B, feeling frustrated by marketing tactics that don't work for you.
Yeah. So pretty straightforward. If you tried a bunch of stuff that hasn't worked, that's the pain point we're targeting here.
All right. Apparently we got echo going with Ben. I don't know why Ben keeps getting echo. I'm going to blame it on Idaho internet. So Ben will stop talking for a minute. By the way, real quick, we're going to give a copy of the book One Thing out. This is one of my favorite books, and you can't see it. I'm holding it up to the camera like you can see my book this book up right now. But we got a book I want to give away today called The One Thing by Gary Keller. We'll swap over. For one person that guessed correctly, which of these tests won, we'll go back over them just in a second. So I'll go back over them and be thinking like, all right, put your marketing brain on. I like to think that I'm really good at knowing what copy you'll win. This is such a minor tweak. I would not guess there's a big difference in the two. Turns out there's a pretty big difference in the two. So for one person that guesses correctly and shares a link to this YouTube video, share it with a friend, text it to a friend, email it to a friend, email it out to your entire email list or post it on social. That'll be great too. Just put in chat that you've shared it and put your guess in chat as well. We'll give one person a copy of The One Thing. We'll just mail it to your house. All right, so let's go back to slides. So this is the option A. Everything else in the ad is totally the same. The videos are the same. The body copies are the same. The headline copies are the same. The only thing that's different is on option A, it says feeling frustrated by online coaches who make it look easy. And option B is feeling frustrated by marketing tactics that don't work for you. Tim, what do you think? And we'll test Tim's echo here. Maybe Tim won't have an echo, but which one? What's your gut?
It's going to be A.
I think A. All right.
Yeah.
Let's look in chat real quick. We got Kyle with B, Matt with B. I'm thinking jealousy, Derek A, self-made B, Jason A. I've seen the results. I'm not even going to guess, but okay. So let's go. Option A, 53. So what we're running people to and fill out an application for a demo sales call kind of thing. Option A, $53 applications. Option B, $194 applications. Almost 4 times cheaper for one sentence of copy, and everything else is the same. Which is shockingly, I would not have guessed the difference would have been that much. Ben, I know you can't talk. Maybe you can put it in chat where I can see. How much ad spend did we put on that? Any idea? Is that like a very minor amount or a decent amount? I'm curious what the test amount was. Okay, so about $500 each. Yeah, so that's not a massive amount, but enough to have an idea which one with that big of a difference, a 4x difference in the two, you can confidently go with option A. So cool. So let's look in chat real quick. Let's pick one person. That's Drew. Same thing. Wow, I was wrong. Yep. So let's go with Kenny Hong today. Guest A. Kenny, make sure you share it with somebody. I can't keep up with chat enough, and Ben's super echoey. So Kenny, reach out to me, Brian@growthtools.com. Just send me put in the subject line book winner and put your address in it, and I'll make sure we get you a copy out today or tomorrow. We'll just Amazon it to you straight to wherever you live. And get you a copy. By the way, kick back over to the slide real quick. If you haven't read The One Thing, my wife and I went through this like parenting conference, and one of the things they recommended was when your kids reach like 13 years old, you could do this earlier, but they specifically picked out 13 for several reasons. But picking out 10 books, and over the course of the next 5 years before they left your house, reading those 10 books with your kids and like having them reading it together in the mornings, but also like helping them like fully understand the core concept of the book. There's probably an easier way to say that. But The One Thing is one of my 10 books. It's a fantastic book. One of my favorite questions of all times comes from this book. And it is, what is the one thing that you can do whereby doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? Fantastic goal setting question. Fantastic prioritization question. Highly recommend the book. It's actually a really pretty book as well. Lots of cool graphs. Just really like the typography. I just like books that are like done well and laid out well, and this is one of them. So go grab a copy. Kenny, make sure you email me. We'll get you a copy out in the mail today. All right. So next up, I want to. Oh, by the way, if you're not on the VIP list, make sure you are. We'll send out a copy of all the links to both of those ads, option A and option B, as well as the 2 subject lines we talked about last week, the landing pages we talked about the week before that. Basically, all of our recent ad tests. That includes ads, emails, and landing pages, and you can just siphon through all of that, pick out a few for your own, and use it in your marketing immediately. This is stuff we've spent hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of dollars testing for ourselves. And you might not be in coaching for marketers, that's fine, but you can take and model those and use those in your industry, and they work really well. So make sure you're on the VIP list. We'll send that out tomorrow morning along with the recording and resources and everything from today's. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's bring on Mr. Tim Stoddart. Tim launched a 7-figure agency 10 months ago without ads and has grown the company to 7 figures. So we're going to learn about, one, what the agency is, what they sell, what the offer is, how much it costs, and then dig into the weeds of what he did to market that. I'm really curious. I don't know myself. I've gotten a handful of notes, but I really want to understand what he did so I can learn from him and try to apply some of that to growth tools. So, Mr. Tim Stoddart, welcome in. Thanks for being here today. Question number 1, what do you sell? What's the product that your agency gives, or what problem does it solve? And what's the product? How do you describe this to somebody that you just met for the first time?
There's 2 agencies, to be specific.
Yep.
I suppose in the secret sauce, right? I should say that I've had experience selling client services before, a lot of experience, 10 years of my life. And so in this particular agency that we grew, digital commerce, we sell long form copywriting, usually for SaaS businesses or for course creators for digital products. And it's so funny, I don't want to veer off track, but the one thing, that book was actually very impactful for me because It was at a point in my career where I'm thinking, do I go into video? Do I go into social media? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I've always been a writer. And so like real long form content with search intent stuck out to me. And it's a skill that I just felt comfortable with as opposed to, some things like this, like jumping in front of a camera and getting my message out that way. So it was after reading that book where I said, you know what, I'm a writer. I can create like a production system of writing long form content and like a team. And we call it like an assembly line of workflow, basically, to build that agency. And so through that skill set, I developed a good mechanism to do so. And that birthed at the end of this journey, digital commerce. And so digital commerce, we sell long-form copywriting and email services that tailor specifically to SaaS products and digital products.
And the problem that solves is what for the SaaS companies you work with?
Well, specifically, it's sales. But what I would like to say is the reason why I like search is because of the word intent. When people search for something, you already know what it is they're looking for, regardless of what it is you're selling. Let's imagine that one of our clients works with women who have had C-sections before. And it's a very, very specific thing that you wouldn't necessarily think would have like a lot of digital interface with it, because you don't see a whole lot of Facebook groups and Instagram pages about something that personal. And so what happens when women are dealing with these kind of issues, they go to Google and they search for these solutions. And that's why I like search, because search is it's so targeted and it's so specific, and you can really measure the intent behind like what the person is looking for. And then that way, like they're searching for what it is that you offer, And so if your copy is good enough and your process is good enough, the conversion rate on that kind of traffic is just much higher.
What's the cost of the service when a company hires you?
We have clients anywhere from $5,000 a month to $15,000 a month.
Okay. And just so I can visualize the offer and like before and after, what's one of your better case studies? Like somebody hired you and they were doing X, and after 6 months or a year, some period of time, they were doing better. Walk me through one of those.
Sure. We got a woman, her website is Soul Salt. She's like a high performance speaker. She has a very particular demographic. She's done really well. We work with AWAI. They're one of the, I don't know what you would call them, like profound, longest lasting, hardcore copywriting and publishing companies. We work with a company called LSAT Clarity, who sells test prep courses to lawyers who are like getting ready to take the LSAT. The LSAT test is like super, super hard. So people like practice through really intense tests to basically prep for the LSAT. They've been a real successful client of ours. So it's a wide range of clientele, but they're all basically selling either digital products or software through long form content and email funnels as well.
So rewind back to day one. 2 questions. How did you pick this to sell? How did you pick this as your offer? And how did you get your first client?
Well, as is most of the great things in my life, it was like totally unplanned, and like all the ideas I've ever had in my life have never really worked. And it's just been a culmination of like continuously tinkering around where things come into place. Um, 10 years ago, I started a marketing agency called Stodsy. My last name is Stoddart. Stodsy was my nickname when I was a kid. If I would have known how big this company would have got, maybe I would have picked a different name, but probably not too, because it's kind of become like a cool little brand, right?
It's a good name.
And yeah, thank you. And we tailor specifically to a very specific industry. So we work with behavioral health centers. So it's a drug rehab center, a couple of like eating disorder centers. It's a space that means a lot to me and that I'm passionate about. So it's been 6 or 7 years of me like really understanding how to manage client services. It's different than a SaaS product because you're selling a service and you're selling labor basically. And so to figure out how to scale that took me a long time. So I had that in my wheelhouse. And I actually really like agency models. I think they get a bad rep sometimes. Like, yeah, you can get burned out from doing it, but I think that's more of a failure of process as opposed to like the model. And so I had a lot of success with that. And over time, there was another website that I learned so much from coming up. It's a website called Copyblogger. And a couple of years ago, I was put in a position to acquire a majority share of the site, and I did. And I did something extremely stupid and reckless and foolish is I bought like a media asset in cash that had like no revenue, right? And so I bought it and I thought, man, I got to figure out how to make some money here. So we created a membership product for it, which has been good. But on top of that, like Copyblogger is one of the internet's like most foremost resources for long form writing and copy and email. So everything I learned how to do, I learned on Copyblogger, and I knew that the community around that already had this sort of skill set. We're into this kind of thing. So I made some partnerships. I talked to some people, and slight little nuance here. The domain digital commerce came with the deal. So I actually bought like 4 domains, but Copyblogger is the big one. And I thought like digital commerce, that's like a really cool brand. Let's start an agency around it. So I made some partnerships. I made some moves. I put some things together, and we had a website and we had an agency, and then we just got started.
Yeah. Where did your first customer come from?
It came from the website, from the Copyblogger website specifically.
So they come
one of
to
the
website,
first,
see an offer, call you buy, or how do they go from website visitor to actual customer?
Yeah. So great question. And lead generation is sort of, if somebody asked me like, what do I do? I'd say I'm a writer. But if somebody asked me like, what's my skill set? I'd say I'm a lead gen. Because even getting my own clients with Stodsy, right? Like I use the same thing that I sell. I use long form copy to make the phone ring. I've built a lot of lead gen sites in the rehab space, which follows the same model. And so I saw Copyblogger. I saw this amazing media asset with like a ton of domain authority and a lot of traffic. And it took me some time to think about and to figure out how to execute on it. But more or less, I SEO'd the Copyblogger site specifically to terms that I knew would convert. And then I just made some really, really simple calls to action. And then those calls to action clicked over to a lead form, which is on the digital commerce site. And it's a really simple lead form, really, but it's got some like really specific criteria in it, which I think enhances the quality of the lead that comes through. So it took a little bit of time, but really it happened pretty quickly. The results came in quick, and like I'm really proud of it.
What was the time between optimizing the site and getting the phone to ring?
Um, say we landed our first client after I put the deal together and we got the LLC. I'd say week 5 was when
Okay.
like the first contract got signed.
Okay. So I want to learn everything you did to grow the agency to 7 figures, but I got a like in the weeds question I didn't expect based on something you said earlier. So you mentioned agencies get a bad rap. I hear that all
Yeah.
the time. Somebody comes into the agency world, they'll start an agency, which is they picked up 5 to 10 freelance clients, and then they get
Yeah.
burned out on agency work and want to do a course or coaching or something like that. I love the way you talked about it. What if you're coaching someone or advising someone that's doing agency work that's getting burned out on it, or someone who is disenfranchised on it? What have you done differently to make that be a really good thing versus what you typically see people doing?
I'm thrilled you picked up on that because it's actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. Um, Most people get into starting their own business as freelancers. And then something happens where all of a sudden you have like 7 clients now, and now you're an agency.
Mhm.
But the only thing that's actually changed is you just spend more time working than you did in the job that you quit in the first place, right? And so to me, an agency means that you have employees, basically. It means that you have to manage a team. And what I did, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily special. I think it's just right place, right time. I read a lot. Like I've always loved reading. And the one thing, like I told you, had a big impact on me.
Yeah.
There's a book I read years and years ago called Think and Grow Rich, which I read at the beginning of every year, which really is just like my mindset. It's like a lot of my spirituality. And there was a book called The E-Myth Revisited by Robert Gerber, where he just talked about turning the technician into an entrepreneur. And every time I read that book, I can never understand how so many people get stuck in that like downward spiral freelance trap because there's no way out of it. And after I read that, I just made the decision to lose clients probably in exchange for documenting processes and systems and just ironing it down. And it sucks. Like it really, really sucks to do. But 8 months later, when all of a sudden you're able to take on a whole new velocity of clients, and like me as the leader am not the one actually writing the 2,000 word blog post. I'm not staying up till 9 at night answering emails. It was like very, very, very much worth it. And it was those lessons really that I learned at the same time that just like enabled us to take digital commerce and like know how to execute on those systems and processes right from the very beginning.
What have been a handful of the key processes that you documented earlier that made a big difference?
In the agency business, I think it's 3.
Mm.
I've narrowed it down to 3 departments, basically. There's project management, there's client services, and then there's sales, really. Todoist has been really helpful for us. I find that having centralized project management is really one of the most important things, and you have to have a good operator. You have to have somebody that just, I don't even know how to explain it. Like things don't get by them, and once you find that person, hold on to that person and like pay them really. And that really helps. In the client services department as well, onboarding, like when you close a deal, the funnels happen in 3 different places, really. Funnels happen in onboarding, which is just collecting everything, right? Collecting the logins, collecting the access to the Google My Business profile if you're doing local stuff, getting the WP admin, getting the hosting, the registrar, all that stuff. So when I say documented, like it is line by line, do exactly this in this exact order to get all the information from the client so that when it's onboarded, then it can go straight into the account management department. And then like what you never want to have happen is things go backwards, right? So once you leave a department into the next one, like you can never go backwards because that's where the herky jerkiness comes into play, right? So the client services needed a lot of documentation. The account management needed a lot of documentation. And if I'm being truthful, I never really did a whole lot with the marketing and sales, but that's just because like that's my job. Now I get to not work in the business and I get to work on the business, and that's just kind of what I do.
And you use Todoist to manage all that, or are there other project management softwares involved?
Todoist is big. We kind of use Trello, but we think about Trello kind of as like a filing cabinet. I don't like it as a task management thing, and I don't even know if it's like the perfect thing for it. It just sort of happened, where it's like, yeah, just put it in Trello. Anything that we need, and like we know that we'll probably need again later, but we don't know where to put in Trello. I gotta say, you can get really, really far with Google Drive and being a little bit creative. Like, really, like you can do basically anything in Google Drive if you can hack around it a little bit. And then like email and Slack.
Mm-hmm. So let's zoom out for a second. We'll go back to revenue. The agency is now over $1 million a year. How many clients is that? How many total clients do you have that's running these systems and that makes up that revenue?
Sure. So for Stodzy, totally different businesses, by the way. And I know it can get a little bit confusing, so I try to separate them. For Stodzy, I think we're close to 30 clients. That does well. And for digital commerce, that business is still, I think it's almost exactly a year old. Might be today, actually. And that is 13 clients. And we quite literally, as of the day before we were all talking and you guys asked me to come on the show, I was able to like truthfully say 7 figures because we sent an email that said like, hey, we hit 84, because every like new entrepreneur knows they hit 84 grand a month. Like that's the $1 million.
333. If you don't know that number, multiply it times 12 and you know that's
it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's cool. And that is in the Copyblogger digital commerce business, or combine both Stodzy and it?
No, that's just in digital commerce. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So walk us through how did you do marketing and sales to grow that new agency to $1 million in less than a year? Give us your playbook.
The biggest thing in the playbook, which I think is like important to say, is that I acquired Copyblogger. And like that really helps a lot, but I also don't want to use it as like a cheat because that was expensive. And
Copyblogger was doing $0 revenue before, and now they're doing $1 million a year revenue. So
yeah, well, a little more than that. Yeah, because if you combine our membership, so our membership platform does about 30 grand or 40 grand a month, and then the agency does 84.1, I think it is, a month. So the traffic really helped, right? But I want to make sure it doesn't come across as a cop-out, because one of the things about Copyblogger, which it just was a different model before I got in, is they didn't SEO really anything. Copyblogger just took off on this trajectory and like its origin, because like blogging was still kind of new. And this was when like, before Facebook duped everybody and you could have like 20,000 followers on a page and like post an article and literally stare at the live analytics and like 8,000 people are reading it, before they duped us all. So they had huge velocity of traffic and backlinks, but what they didn't necessarily have, which I saw the opportunity in, was like intentionality and focus. So the process was simple. Know your keyword before you write the article. Like, know, what is this article for? Like, why am I writing this article? I'm a writer, so like I'm all about writing for the sake of writing. And if you have a blog and it's not necessarily that serious to you, like it doesn't have to be this way. But Copyblogger is a marketing asset for me. And so I went through the site article by article, took the ones that I thought could rank for like a highly competitive keyword, took those articles and just rewrote them. Worked with Stephanie as well. She works for Copyblogger and she's a great writer. And just went through it one by one, line by line, put the CTAs in there properly, wrote the email funnels that sell to digital commerce, we put a digital commerce link at the top of every newsletter that goes on Friday. And if you click that link, that triggers a sales funnel for digital commerce specifically. So to summarize, I'd say it's a combination of three things. It's intentionality behind the content to like generate leads. It's clean and clear calls to action within the content. And then it's like following up through higher level automations.
Yeah. Walk through the automations. What's happening there?
I love automations. They're so fun. Like I really love building them. I love
By the way, I
ConvertKit.
love that you're just a true marketing geek. That warms my heart.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all a game to me, and I'm like pretty competitive, and so one thing I like about SEO is it's kind of winner take all. So you can like see who it is that you're taking traffic from. I don't mean to sound ruthless, but I guess that's kind of what it is. Like someone's got to be at the top, and I like that. So anyway, I use ConvertKit. In my opinion, ConvertKit's like just the best email marketing software that there is. And I have experience with MailChimp, and I don't think Substack really counts as like a marketing software. I don't have experience with like Aweber or anything. So if anybody uses it, like I'm not knocking it. I just know that ConvertKit lets me do some really, really fun, creative things. Here's how our funnel works. When the digital commerce funnel in particular is very, very simple. There's some complexity. There's some complex funnels to sell our membership program. But digital commerce is like so high dollar and so specific that I don't actually want to send that funnel to everybody that signs up every day, because the alignment wouldn't be there. And so all it is we sponsor our own newsletter basically. And on my personal blog on timstoddart.com, I do the same thing. There's another website, one of our partners has a blog that he writes, and he does the same thing. So we just sponsor our own newsletters with digital commerce. And if somebody clicks on that link, the link click itself tags them, and then the tag triggers the automation. So service automations, I send 4 emails, and I do the same exact thing through Stodzy, right? What I'm trying to do is establish proof and establish trust. And so I rotate between the two things. Proof is basically that don't take my word for it, just see what we've already done. And so I use an example, like this is a client that we have. This is the results we've generated. Like I said, you don't have to believe me, just look, like this is what we've done. And then trust is testimonials. And then I rotate those two things back and forth, and I give some free stuff along the way. And it's usually about 4 or 5 emails that rotate between proof and trust and leads.
Interesting. I love the idea of sponsoring your own newsletter. It's so simple yet effective, because you can just focus on doing the thing you love, which is writing and teaching people and helping people, and have light CTAs that have back-end automations built off those. So did all 13 clients come through that way, or are there other avenues to get on a call?
I think 12. I think Johnny, who is our CEO, brought one in. And that's not true, actually. So let me caveat a little here, because you said sponsor your own newsletter. And this is actually something I feel really passionate about, right? Because I see so many people making such creative stuff, and everyone's like begging for sponsorships. And my personal blog has 1,600 followers. It's something I love to do because it keeps me sharp, but like no one really knows who I am. And I just started taking my newsletter seriously. I made a commitment to myself. I was in Portland, Oregon. I was hiking with my wife, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit to doing this. I'm going to send my newsletter every Friday, no matter what. And I've committed to it. And I've sponsored my own newsletter through digital commerce. And so me, dinky little Tim Stoddart has already closed a $5,000 deal from that lead. And so it's like, you got 1,600 followers. You could beg for like $25 sponsorships a month and like make a couple $100, or you could just like bet on yourself and do it right. And if I do one of those every 3 or 4 months, I'm killing it. So it's just like another avenue why I think it's so important to bet on yourself in that way, because you don't need a lot. You just need like the the right alignment.
It's always been perplexing to me when product companies have content assets, they sell space into other companies. Like you have your own products, you can literally just sell in the same spots. Like if the newsletter or video or YouTube show or whatever it is like good and has eyeballs, like just sell your own stuff if you have it. I mean, I get if your business model is totally sponsorships, there's risk in that on its own, but that always has been a bit perplexing to me.
Me too.
You can almost for sure make more money off the same sponsorship slots than you can selling it to other people, unless you're just an incredible negotiator. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so talk about we got lead gen, or the basic concept of how the funnel works. You go to a sales call. How does you're not a sales guy, you're a marketing guy. You love being in the weeds of things, don't like being on camera. What does your sales call look like? Maybe two questions. What's your close rate, and what does the call itself sound like and look like?
I'm definitely a sales guy.
Oh, good.
And and I wasn't always like, again, it was a book. So it's a little awkward to say. I grew up with a speech impediment. And so it was always just very difficult for me to talk. And when I started Stodzy, like I just knew like there's no way around this. If I want to do my own thing, I got to figure out how to have coffee with people and meet people and close deals. And so I read a book called You Can't Learn to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. And it's about the Sandler sales system. And he just broke down this entire system where he visualizes it that you're in a submarine. And if a submarine starts taking on, if it's got a leak in it, starts taking on water, you like close the chamber. And so remember how I talked about earlier about how workflow goes from one department to another and you can never go backwards? I actually kind of took it from the Sandler sales system. And he has this 6-part process in any sales call where you get these things out of the way so that you never have to go backwards. So for instance, the first thing that you say after you do a little bit of rapport is you do what's called an upfront contract. And you say, hey, look, I'm so happy you called me. I'm so happy you thought about us. I'm going to sit here for as long as you need, and I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know to help you make a decision as whether you want to hire us or not. All I ask from you is that by the end of the conversation, you give me a yes or you give me a no. And so like you're putting their integrity on the line, and you're also saving yourself the process of what all salespeople hate, which is like getting to the person to actually make the decision, And if they say like, well, I'm going to have to talk to my partner about it, then you say, okay, well, when you and your partner get on the phone, you can call me and we can do this. That's just one example, by the way, but the Sandler sales system has really, really, really helped me become a sales guy. And I've become really passionate about it. Like I love sales isn't, so here's why sales has been easy for me. It's because when people call me, they already know that they need to hire me. Right. And like, again, my sales process starts from the writing because I'm not knocking on doors, like I would really struggle with that. I'm answering the phone for people that say digital commerce looks like they can help me. I just read this whole article about like the success that they've had. Let me give them a call. Yeah. And so like my job isn't necessarily to convince them. My job is to like show them the alignment between my solution and their needs. And so we actually just measured it. We're closing 60% of our leads.
Wow. That's then a sales call scheduled, wind up becoming a client. And what's the sales cycle? How fast do they go from a phone call to a client typically?
It's pretty long. It's longer with digital commerce because I think in behavioral health, it's just like a business dynamic. Usually the CMO and the CEO talk to each other a lot more because, I mean, I don't need to get into it just because they do. Yeah. And for other higher end kind of SaaS products, there's just a little bit more office management type stuff that gets in the way. And usually because there's investor money, right? Like that's really the difference. Yeah. And so you got to go through that whole process of like spending money and getting the sign off on it. So I'd say typically it's been like 3 to 4 weeks from lead to close. But because of the search, like they're serious buyers, which I think has been really helpful for us.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very reasonable. 3-week sales cycle on a $5,000 to $15,000 recurring monthly product. So that's good. Have you found, back into the weeds a little bit of the tactical part of growing your business and what you do for clients, have you found a particular type of content that works best for attracting leads, whether it's for a phone call or to buy a product directly on the site, like sign up for a free trial for a SaaS or whatever the endpoint is?
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
I mean, all of our content is about writing. So I think there's like a pretty good umbrella that we have. But my search process isn't necessarily about the topic as much as it's finding the opportunity. So like what I love about SEO and what I love about like Google in general is that it's a real like network of all of our minds. And so you can navigate like the things that people are into and the things that people are interested in and find these little openings that somebody hasn't found yet. And it's important to know that like there's always an opening. Sometimes I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm just a small fish. I can never really compete in there. And like, trust me, there's always an opening, even whether that means you just go local, right? Like maybe you could be the biggest, like I feel like I could easily become the highest ranked agency in Nashville within like 6 or 7 months, you know? So even if like the opening is just a location, like there's always something there. So my answer to that question is like, no, it's not necessarily that I found a specific kind of content. It's that I really enjoy the tinkering and find these little openings that I know I can win because I don't need a lot of traffic, right? I just need to grab the majority of the attention for this particular problem that people have and then write my content in a way that really offers a solution.
Can you give me like a recent example of that? I think I get the concept, but I don't like crystallize it with like, show me one. What's one that maybe you've done recently in that vein?
Sure. How to create a digital product. There's a ton of search volume around digital products, and there's a ton of search volume around building an online business, right? But like, there's not a whole lot of search volume around people that specifically want to create a digital product. And so I wrote a whole entire manual on it. And I mean, last time I checked, we ranked number 1 for that keyword. Maybe we're number 2 or number 3. I'm pretty sure we're still number 1. That keyword's got 80 searches a month, I think. But it doesn't matter because if I get one lead from that, which I have, because the UTM told me that CTA generated a lead for us. I don't know if we closed it or not, but it doesn't actually matter because if you take that one lead that maybe will come in like every 6 months and then you combine it over the course of one article a week for the next 2 years, you know, now all of a sudden you got more leads than you know what to do with. And it's just that like process that I think is a lot more important than actually saying like, this is the thing I am, this is the thing I'm going after, right? Like I want to be the best, whatever in this space. I've never really cared about that. I just want to get the most bang for my buck for the least amount of work in the shortest amount of time.
So right turn for a second. If your single goal over the next year was to triple the size of the agency, what do you do? More of what you're doing? Something different?
No, I would keep doing what I'm doing, but you know, this may sound like a shock to everybody, but there's more things in the world than the internet. And like, it's like crazy.
It's
but
not even real life.
yeah, yeah. But there is. One of the things that we haven't implemented in this yet in digital commerce, but we will. It's simply just a matter of scale and like making sure that you have the ability to take on a whole bunch of business at once because the scalability is different than if you're selling a course, right? To triple in size, we'll build a strategic partnership plan. So here's the numbers. If you have a sales team, it's the 10-10-10 rule. I read this on a blog by David Sachs, of all people. If the quota for your salespeople is $100,000 a year, that means that their salary is 10% of their quota. So I'm just using round numbers here because I'm always nervous to mess up math in front of people. But their salary is 10% of their quota. So their salary is $10,000 a year, right? And their bonus structure is 10% of their quota. So they get 10% of the business that they bring in. And I remember reading this and thinking to myself, okay, makes sense. So for every dollar I make, I lose 20 cents of that through the salary and through the commission. And so I thought to myself, well, what if I just skip the salary part and I just network with people in the industry that know other people and they just refer me leads? So from the Stodzy standpoint, if somebody I know sends an introductory email, that's it. Even just like an introduction, even just a text like, hey, this guy Tim, I think he can help you. Let me know. I call that person a strategic partner. And we have a simple one-page document, which is just the ACH and the bank routing number.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the deal that says like, this client that you referred to us, you'll get paid on them as long as they pay their invoice, right? Like the partner gets paid when we get paid, and then they get 10% recurring on it. So from the Stodzy side, I got a whole team of people who aren't on payroll, but are just getting checks put into their bank account every month for doing nothing but like a text message intro. Yeah. It doesn't take a lot, right? And like I really make sure I honor that because like I want them feeding me business. So that's what I would do.
You would increase your army of referral partners.
Totally. Yeah, strategic partners.
Where do you go to do that? How do you think about who those people would be?
If I'm going to do it for digital commerce, which I'm going to, I'm all in on Twitter.
So you're finding, so how do you use Twitter? What's the approach?
Just networking and DMs, you know, that people overcomplicate social media. Like one, I'm not really that into social media. I think it takes up a lot of time and a lot of attention with like not a lot of results. That's separate from advertising, by the way. Like I get that they're kind of different. Twitter, I do think is a bit of a, I won't be able to pronounce this right, like an asterisk, because anybody can be approached by anybody. Like the accessibility on Twitter is just really, really high. And the searchability on Twitter is really, really high as well. So like you can just spend a couple months getting to know people, not even asking anything from them, just like meet people, find out. Like my favorite line on Twitter is, what are you working on? And it's just the best way to see what people are into and what they're doing. And then over time, you just see stuff going on and you just send them a DM. Be like, hey, I saw that you mentioned this or you mentioned so-or-so in one of your comments. Like next time you do that, maybe think about me and I'll give you 10% of the deal. If it's a $2,000 a month deal, that's $200 in your bank account for doing nothing. And all you had to do was tag me on Twitter. You know, that's how I would do it.
By the way, I mean, my favorite part of the entire referral partner strategy is like 10% recurring on a $5,000 to $15,000 product is a significant amount of money for them. Like
it's real.
I think people underestimate like in affiliate programs or referral programs that like the deal. A lot of times I look at them and it's just not even a good deal. That's what I feel like was ConvertKit's secret sauce in the early days. They had 30% recurring commission, like day one. I'm like, and a mutual friend of ours like ran that program for a couple of years, and like I think that was the number one thing is like they just paid out really, really well. In fact, Jason in chat and YouTube just said this guy Tim is a freaking genius. So, hey Tim, I'm going to kick over to clients real quick, and I think we have a few questions over there that they've been kind of chatting and watching as we're going on. These are coaching client of ours. Heather, what
this
we got?
So cool, by the way. Ecamm. I love it. I said this is so cool. Ecamm. I never seen it like.
It's a really nice tool for interface. It's taken us, I don't know, we've done maybe a dozen of these so far, and I feel like we're finally getting into a groove of like smoothly using it versus super clunky using it. But we still got a few little things to iron out. But anyway, Heather, how are we doing over there?
We're doing good. So we've got a few questions coming in. So Tim, can you just dimensionalize when you talk about long form content? I think you mentioned blog posts and email. So is that mainly kind of what you're talking about?
For sure. I mean, I'm one of those. What's the word? It's kind of escaping me. Like, I'm very intense about owning your content. I've seen. I had a podcast about this before with Nathan. We have a podcast every week called the Copyblogger podcast, and we're talking about Substack and how all of a sudden they just introduced an app. And like, when that app comes around, there's still ownership of it, but then like, what's the next thing and what's the next thing, you know? So I always write on my own website, One, because I think it just creates a body of work that you can use as like a digital calling card, you know. But two, just because then you own your content, and three, because now, like long form content has a long half life. Like if you tweet something, even if you got 1 million followers, right? The half life on it is, I don't know. Let's get crazy and call it a week, right? But I wrote articles 10 years ago that are still generating stuff for me, bringing in traffic, bringing in leads, especially on Sober Nation, which is one of my lead gen sites. So it's just, you got to be patient with it, you know, because it's not going to happen overnight. But I like things that are the opposite of instant gratification. So it's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but yeah, long-form content posted on a blog. I use WordPress that I own.
Awesome. Yeah. So leading into that,
hey Heather,
you hinted at it. Go ahead.
Sorry to pause. We're getting some weird mic echo stuff. I don't know what's going on. Unfortunately, we'll have to stop client questions for a second. I think we're on this slide. For some reason, the sound gets weird, so we'll have to troubleshoot that. Tim, would you mind if we followed up with, I'm going to kick back over so people aren't super annoyed by echo. Would you mind if we followed up with a handful of questions and add them in to chat for you to answer and talk about?
No, I'd be happy to. If people got questions and they want to put them in chat, I can rock with it. Is that what this little thing on the top is? Oh, wow. This is the whole chat.
Yeah, that's YouTube chat. Heather's over in Zoom chat with clients, so that's not totally integrated, but YouTube chat is there. One question for you, Tim, and we'll maybe wrap. We're at time. What can I Google to find an example of one of your articles that's ranked high, that's long form content, just as way of example to somebody so they can see, either a client or for yourself, an example of good long form content that converts?
On my personal blog, I think I still rank number 1 for how to monetize a personal brand. That's something that I'm proud of. On my blog, I don't actually SEO stuff. Like I try to have something that, you know, doesn't consume my mind with marketing. You know, it's just somewhere I can express myself. But, you know, I got to say, like, I don't actually have anything that isn't long form. So if you go to timstoddart.com, like all of my stuff is 1,200 words at least. Everything on Copyblogger is probably longer than that. And then if you want to see how it works, like just go to SEMrush and check the search traffic. You don't, like I said, proof and trust, right? Like you don't got to take my word for it. Just check it out yourself.
Yeah, we'll include some links in the follow-up, include them below so people can go check it out and get an idea of what it looks like.
I can send you more.
Yeah, thank you. Where can people learn more about you, follow along, learn what you're doing, and try to copy it for themselves in their industry?
Well, I love that. And one of the taglines on my newsletter is actually like, learn from my mistakes so you don't have to learn from your own, because it's way better. And I've bashed my head against the wall for like 12 years, you know, and you don't have to do that, I promise. Yeah. But go to timstoddart.com. My Friday newsletter is really good. I think I spend a lot of time curating some good stuff. I'll put this on there for people. And if you go to timstoddart.com and sign up if you want, if not, you can see my portfolio of stuff that I've built over the years as well. That's the best place to learn about me.
Great. Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks for sharing. And we're going to follow up with a handful of questions and resources. We'll send everybody so they have them and they can really learn and understand. Sorry for the tech problems with echoes that some people have. I didn't have it on. I
didn't hear an echo. Yeah, it didn't bother me at all.
But we got it in YouTube, and Ben had one. So I got this crazy app called Loopback that you like do all this audio routing to make everything talk to each other. So there's like 100% chance something is wired up there wrong. So diagnostics. Thanks so much, Tim. Good to finally meet. Apologies for not responding on Twitter when you reached out.
No, man. I just wanted to mess with you.
New Year's resolution.
Sure.
Thanks, brother. Chat soon, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye. Thanks so much to Tim for being there. I'm going to kick back over to slides real quick. By the way, if you're not on the VIP list, make sure you text VIP to 615-903-8108. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we'll send a copy out of a handful of examples of long-form blog posts that Tim has written. I know he's got several different sites. We'll send links to the sites, links to a handful of long-form posts at each of them so you can kind of study them and understand what he's doing. And we have a few resources in our library of how to optimize your content to actually generate leads. We'll include those as well. So we have them. The primary site is timstoddarts.com. That's his personal blog. The two different websites that he mentioned were copyblogger.com and digitalcommerce.com. Those are kind of sister brands owned by the same company, but two different sites. One of my favorite things I do is coach people. I call myself a marketing coach. My bio on Twitter and LinkedIn, everything is a marketing coach. I do training publicly like this. But the thing I love with a passion is working with people one-on-one, people like Tim, people like Kirk and Kim and Cody right here. Some of my favorite people. About 4 weeks ago now, they came to Nashville and we spent the day together. And we coached them. We created a marketing plan for them. You can see that in the upper right-hand corner. This is a timeline of their revenue and the exact strategies that we outlined for them. On the bottom right, you can see an example of their actual marketing plan, the marketing system that we're making with them over the next 6 months. In fact, I got this message from Cody yesterday at 12:51. This is in the first 30 days after leaving Nashville. They passed $100,000 in sales from executing the plan that we doodled on the whiteboard here. Now we prettied it up and made a nice version of it just like this. And we do this for all of our clients. When you come in as a client, the first thing we do is we sit down as a coaching team and learn everything about you. So for the first time, somebody's going to sit across the table from you and actually learn your goals, your visions, your aspirations, your revenue targets. And then we grade how you're doing now versus where we would like you to be. And from that, create a marketing system for you to install in your company, whereby doing it, you have the impact that you want to have, you have the revenue that you want to have, and you do all that within the work hours you want to work. So you just actually have the business that you wanted when you started, or you have the business that you're dreaming of now. This is my passion. This is what I do almost all day, every day, is teach and coach. This is one of the main deliverables we left the Duncans with, which is their actual system, exactly what they're going to be executing over the next 6 months in order to hit their goals. One of the things we do is we also create and write out your vision for you, create your perfect avatar profile for you. So you know what you're building, you know the destination, that's your vision. You know the vehicle you're going to go in, that's your offer, that's your actual product you're going to sell. And you know who you're going to sell it to, like the people you're going to take it to, the thing you're going to take to them, and the actual vision for the company you're going to build. These things make it almost impossible to fail at growing your business. In fact, for the Duncans, I just showed you the screenshot from our Voxer chat, $102,000 in sales in the first 30 days after meeting and creating a marketing plan for them. And this is what Kim had to say. Kim was the lady in the mom in the chat. It's the mom, the dad, and the son. And they're growing the business, going to turn it over to Cody to run at some point in the future. But anyway, this is what Kim had to say.
Hey, Brian, I just wanted to thank you so much for our experience yesterday. It was like everything and nothing that I could imagine. It was everything I wanted, and it was so on point. I want you to know how much I appreciated you being yourself and so connected to our team and our company. I really appreciated all the data that you collected so that you could, when we met yesterday, you were able to deliver such a precise direction for us. And it was so succinct, and just the way you delivered it was so comforting and gave me so much hope. We've been building our business for 17 years, and this last couple of years have been a lot of adjustments with our company, and we've gotten to a point where I was like, okay, we don't know what else to do to move through some of the challenges that we're facing, and you gave us exactly on point what our next steps should be. And what I loved about it, it was not like this, oh my gosh, you have to change everything. It was just so amazing that you could take what we're already doing and just make a little tweak, a little tweak, a little tweak. And I could see how over a very short amount of time, those little tiny tweaks would make such a dramatic difference. I feel so much hope. I feel so much passion about our company. And I just want to thank you so much. And thank you, and I want to thank your team. Your team is so on point. They just have taken such good care of the three of us as we've been here and through this process of figuring out what our next steps are. So Brian, thank you so much for being you. Thank you for showing up with all of your incredible brilliance that you have to share. And I just want to say, wow, my mind is blown.
So if you would like for me to help you do that, make a plan for you, sit down across from you, understand exactly what you want, make a plan that removes the overwhelm, removes the confusion, and gives you focus and clarity. So you know exactly what to do. That makes it almost impossible to fail at growing your business. I'd love to talk to you. Just text coach to 615-903-8108. Myself and Luke and Ben are all manning that number. So we'll chat back and forth with you, have a conversation with you, see if it makes sense for us to jump on the phone and just tell you about what we do and see if we can help you grow your business. My promise is You will not, if you have a phone call, you will leave with one unique thing you can do to double your business by the end of this year. Dustin mentioned that he can't quite see how this would work in e-com. Dustin, an example that comes to mind, and I'll get out of this slide so you can actually see me since my face is not on here. An example that comes to mind is a client of ours, Dustin Reichman. Well, maybe Ben can throw a link in YouTube so you can go read his case study. He sells meat sticks. So like Slim Jims, except keto or something like that for like people with autoimmunes and different dietary things of different types. Anyway, so like literally physical products, selling it to on the website, selling it on Shopify. We came in, made a plan for them. And I forget the exact numbers. It's been a minute since I've read the case study, but we interviewed him 6 months or so ago. But increased sales by $10,000 a month in recurring revenue. I think it was in like 3 months or less. Ben just put a link in chat. You can go read the case study. What I found is there's 3 fundamental elements that you need to grow a business. You need leads, you need eyeballs, hearts, and wallets. You need to attract leads, build trust with them, and then have simple mechanisms set up to convert them to customers. That's what Tim walked through in his funnel. You have to have the leads first. He bought them with Copyblogger. He just paid a lot of money to acquire the eyeballs, but he still has to build trust with them and monetize them. So when you come in, we evaluate Jason, Dustin Raymond. We evaluate for you, anybody. What do you need? We grade them on those 3 criteria. In fact, that scorecard I showed you where it had the little swim lanes is grading how your lead's doing, how's your trust doing, how's your monetization doing. We have subcategories under that and figure out for you specifically, what do you need? And then the strategy, we have hundreds of strategies we've tried over the years. We simply look at your situation and identify the exact strategies you need from that bucket to increase revenue the quickest and increase impact the quickest. Anyway, a bunch of details, but I would love to talk with you. It's what I love doing every day. We have a whole team of coaches who do nothing but create plans and coach people through the execution of those plans. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, feel free to text coach to 615-903-8108. Would love to have you next week on our case study wall. In fact, we get permission from most people to share their case studies, but some people don't like that due to all kind of reasons. So we had one client who I can't share their name, but they said, I made 2 sales over the weekend after feeling in a rut. I was focused, took good care of myself, and did a lot of yoga, and that put me back on track. 2 new clients. Another client, Beverly Floyd. I accepted my marketing plan and got excited to get started. She runs a company called Inkwell Publishers and just hired us a month or so ago. Okay, so next week, in fact, I don't know why I'm not showing up here. I'm going to put here we go. It'll be weird for a second, but let me get this thing. I hate you looking at slides the entire time. And let me turn on the right camera. There we go. And I'll make myself smaller. Here we go. All right, here we are. Ben, we're back. I hate Ben can't talk this week. We're going to figure out an echo thing, so I'm not talking to myself the whole time. Next week on Shop Talk, we're going to be back to normal format. I'm going to walk you through one of the most common questions we get from new clients and from friends, which is, I got a whole bunch of people who are disengaged in my email list, or I have an email list I haven't emailed in forever. What do I do to warm them back up? So I'm going to walk you through how to warm up cold subscribers in 4 steps. Make sure you're on the VIP list. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And hey, if you don't mind, if today was valuable to you, give it a thumbs up. That helps it like rank and stuff, and more people find out about it. So anyway, text 615-903-8108, and I'll make sure we send you a text message about 15 minutes before we go live so you don't miss it. And we'll send you a follow-up text the next day so you get the recording and all the resources like examples to Tim's long-form blog post, our swipe files that you can take and pull from and use directly in your business, and more stuff like that. So next week, next Wednesday, same time, same place, how to warm up cold subscribers in 4 steps. And if you want to talk, see if we can help you grow your business, would love to have a chat with you. Text coach to 615-903-8108. And we'll do that. We'll do that today or tomorrow. And we'll have a text conversation in between so we can make sure we can help you. We're not going to waste your time. Our goal is not that at all. And you'll leave with at least one unique thing you can do to grow your business in 2022. My goal is to show you next week on this screen, just like we showed Kim's video today and showed a bunch of case studies of clients. Like the best thing I can do for my business is show you being successful. So other people can say like, man, I want to be just like him, or, ooh, I want to be just like Leona. So thank y'all for being here today. Next week, same time, same place. Hey, if you have feedback on how we can make Shop Talk better, leave it in the comments. I would love to, if you have one idea we can do to make Shop Talk better, we'll pick one person from the comments that leaves a comment and send you a copy of the One Thing book. We want to make it better. We want to make it better for you next week. So yeah, subscribe, text coach to 615-903-8108. Let's talk. Till next time.